Yeah.
Yeah, I think I will be able to. What?
Okay. So I'll just share my screen. I'll make you the host, Shibi, so that you can take care.
Yeah, I'll do that.
So yeah, I made you the host, and I'll just share my screen. Yeah, you'll have to give me the rights to share the screen. I keep doing this. I make the other person the host, and then I forget to give myself the rights to share screen.
Can you try sharing now? I think you should be able to share.
Yeah. So you should be able to see the PowerPoint presentation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we can see.
Okay. This is where, when we are teaching AI in class 12, this was the curriculum that was given to us. All of you must have gone through the curriculum. So what I did was, I did not start with Unit 1. I started initially when the book came out, and I started reading it. Unit 1 was something which I really could not understand and could not relate to. So what I did was, I started with Unit 2. And that was really fortunate for me that I started with Unit 2, because then students were able to grab this concept, and also then Unit 1 became easier for me. So again, as I said, this is my experience. So you can carry forward with this experience, or you can try with Unit 1. Somehow I did not have a very positive with Unit 1. So I started with the model life cycle, the AI life cycle. Now regarding books, you can refer the class 10 book, which is on CBSE website, that gives very good examples, as well as explanations. So you can take material from there, you can take examples from there. Only thing is, it is still evaluation. So but our book also covers deployment and feedback. Interestingly, the CBSE handbook for class 12 has just 2 to 3 pages for this chapter, but obviously you will have to explain lot many things to students, and class 10 handbook will really help you out. So what I suggested, whenever you are starting with this chapter, go through the class 10 handbook, so that you are able to gather data and examples from there, and then you can continue. Now, what all to keep in mind when you are covering this chapter? Number one, this is what I did with them. So though it is not there in the syllabus, but while creating the logbook, all these things helped me a lot. So the 4W problem statement, where we have that, we have that set of 4Ws, and then they come to the problem statement. They define the proper problem statement. That you can do. It is already there in class 10. So you would teachers who are already taking class 10 would have an idea. Then teach them the concept of training set and test set. As it is, when you're talking about evaluation, you will have to talk to them about these things. Also, the concept of underfitting, overfitting, and the perfect fit. This is not given in the book, but as students doing capstone project, they must be aware of these things. What is a training set? What is a validation set? What is a test set? Underfitting, overfitting, the perfect fit. Also, this was the YouTube video that was shown to us when we attended the AI training, CBSE AI training. So I've given the link of the same video. So you can show this to your students. This is a video having two girls, and they are explaining the concept. So this is quite self-explanatory. So you can show this video to them. For the practical part, now class 12th AI actually doesn't have too much of practical, but obviously I felt students doing theory all the time doesn't look good. So what I did was, using teachable machine only, I did the image classifier, and then all these steps I segregated into the AI project cycle steps. So when you're collecting data, that is one step. Then you going over exploring the data, removing the bad images. So that you can do with students. Or there are lots of data sets available, free data sets available on the net. What you can do is, you can take one and do it as a simple regression question on Excel. So in Excel, you have a very good method of making the graph. It also gives you the line of best fit it calculates it itself if you choose that particular graph. So that will be easy for students. And then of course, based on the equation you have got, then you can give the other predictions. So all this you can do this. It will be a little helpful for students. They'll be able to understand this AI life cycle concept very easily. Now, when you go to unit 1, after this, then I went back to unit 1. So in unit 1, they have the concept of design thinking again. Again, as I said, the AI handbook is very, very, they've compressed all information. So you do not get too much of information to explain to students. So revisit the design thinking that you did in class 11, go through all the steps again, because if you see the question paper, it was asking questions regarding the design thinking steps. So they should know what all we are doing on in all the 5 steps. So that information should be there. If you want, you can do a simple project. Like what I did with my class was, when they were ending class 11th, I gave them a design thinking project to create using any waste material at home. So they, from old bottles or something, so they can create very good projects because they're already doing some concept in physics and chemistry. So using that, they were able to integrate and create small projects. So that ways you can again implement it here. This is the literature that you can read through. This explains it very well. Also, there are lots of literature regarding design thinking available on the net, so you can go through that. There is one which is showing, this course is actually available on MIT also. So MIT actually had published a video of their students redesigning the walker for old people. So that video is really good. So if you are able to get hold of that video, you can show it to your students. It is actually explaining all the steps the students are going through in redesigning the walker. So it's a good 15 minutes video. So it's a lengthy video. So you will have to show it to your students on a day where you have a longer period. So that really helped for my students. Then of course, we have the proper AI cycle. Now, this AI cycle that they have taken it from this literature, Foundational Methodology of Data Science. Now, what happens is, in the book, what they have done is they have reduced all these 10 to 12 steps into, they've reduced the literature. But if you download this material, it explains all the steps very exhaustively. So this link is available in the handbook also. So what you can do is, you can download this material, read through the material, and then of course you can explain all these steps. Since they have already done the AI project cycle in chapter 2, so this portion will be very easy for students to pick up. Again, you will have to go into a little depth because the book doesn't give you so much. So that's why I said, you please read through this literature and then take a class on this cycle. Then of course, what I did was, I made my students do manual practice of MSE and RMSE calculation. So I gave them information. From there they had to do the proper calculations. It's not difficult. Videos are available on the net, so you can just show them the video and then they can do the manual calculation. Then actually, in the IBM training, we were told not to do the Python code, but in the term 1 exam, there was a question asking for the Python code of train test split. So to be on the safe side, I suggest you teach that part. Do not teach them the entire Python code. There's a particular statement where you are splitting the data set into training set and test set. So explain those 2-3 statements to them. Students will pick that. And difference between train test split and clause validation, this is a very important question from the point of view of Viva also. So do this question with them. And hyperparameter, somehow it has been missed, but it came in the sample paper. So and there is just one single line which talks about hyperparameters in unit 2. So it's better that you do the concept of hyperparameters. What are the examples of hyperparameters? How are they affecting the learning process of the AI model? All these things you can cover. Then I come to AI capstone project. You will not have any problem covering the theory part as such. The main problem starts when you do the AI capstone project, because what exactly do you take as a project? So these are the various, these two, the first two are actually the ones which were discussed during the CBSE IBM training. So I've given the same examples here. You can take the teachable machine. When you export the model, you get the HTML code also, the JavaScript HTML code there. So you can copy that code and embed it in a website. So they made us do it on Weebly. So the same example I use in my class also, that they can use the subdomain on Weebly since it is free of cost, or probably you could use Google Sites also and create an image classifier. Now here you can use Teachable Machine. I also gave another example. I had attended this webinar where one of the students had displayed a project where a very simple project, but a very fantastic idea. He had uploaded the X-ray images of lungs. So one class was healthy lungs, the second class was lungs having cancer. So there he had trained the machine to detect cancer from the images, and then the model was able to predict the presence of cancer in the lungs. So again, he made a small website. Again, it was picked up from Teachable Machine. So a very novel idea and a very simple one. Only thing is you have to work getting the data, that is the images. Then the mobile app using image classifier and AI with MIT App Inventor. Now, this, if you see this website, all of you, if you've joined through your this thing, laptop, you can go to this website. Yeah. So this website is actually having, AI with App Inventor, and it has lots of examples where they are giving you tutorials also to create small mobile apps, which is using a bit of AI. So what I have told my students, since we've also started with 12th AI, that you can go through these, the ones you like, at least I'll do 2 or 3 in class. So then of course they get an idea. So the steps are also given here. So using this, they can create small projects. So if they want, then they can obviously add on to it also to and show it as their capstone project. And of course, you have the Python code for linear regression. Now, this is available on the net, and I will also be sharing it with you. I think it will take me another 1 month to. I've just started learning machine learning using Python. So I am also developing a very simple project so that I can teach my own students. So once that is complete, I will also share the Python code for you. This, of course, is not compulsory, but it's up to you. If you feel some of your students want to go beyond the scope of the classroom, so you can share that with your students so that they are able to create a small project using Python code. Other than this, of course, you have Google Dialogflow and IBM Watson. You can create rule-based chatbots on these two platforms and then show that as an AI capstone project also. Now, the main thing would be when you're filling the logbook, these 2, 3 things had really troubled me. The first 2 points had really troubled me because the project plan, there is this huge table that you have to fill. So, and it's actually asking you what is the plan date and then what is the actual date. So you have to go through it very carefully, and that requires proper forethought. You have to do proper planning in order to fill up that project plan. Detailed minutes of each meeting must be recorded, and this has to be provided in the logbook. So what I did was I asked students to get photocopies. This was in the offline class, and online, of course, we were filling it side by side. In the offline class, I had asked them to get printouts of photocopies of the blank pages where they're giving you the tables for filling the meeting minutes of the meeting. So there with pencil, I had asked them to fill it, and then of course going back home, then they can type it and keep it also. But this, I think you need to be after your students, and they have to do this side by side. It's a huge logbook. It's like 25 to 30 pages, and it takes time. It took me almost 1 month of regular classes with my students to complete the logbook. And this is I was not teaching them, I was taking my online classes, and in the online classes we were doing just the filling up of the logbook only, because this has to be done properly. The logbook will be their Bible, and one of my students were applying abroad. So he submitted that logbook only as his project. Other than this, you have to create a 3-minute video. This has to be a minimum 3-minute video. And this will be showing the reflection of each team member. There is also reflection that has to be recorded in the logbook, and also they have to speak about it in the video. So that, plus the recording of the code or the project. So like I had got my students to create an IBM Watson chatbot. So we had recorded the coding, the whatever was the flow of intents and the dialogue. So all that had been recorded. So that also has to be there. So it has to be a minimum 3-minute video. Please stick to it, because when my external came, Noel sir was very particular that the video should be shown. And of course, we had shown the video, but if it is available with you, then you will not have any problems also. So do ask students, to shoot the video. And then of course, this requires a lot of time because there's a lot of editing involved and everything. So, and then the screen recording of the project also has to be integrated. So all these things will take up time. So you need to have proper planning, because you're doing the syllabus also, as well as you're doing the logbook filling also.
Ma'am, there's a
Yeah.
question. There's a question regarding the logbook in the chat box, because these days the classes are offline. So the question was from Tanu. She's asking it should be online or nowadays it is offline. So I do you think that you can just take the printout of those pages and do it offline, and then later they can go and fill it in the online
I
logbook,
did that. I did
right?
that. We had
Because
in Delhi, certain periods we were able to open classes in December. So that time, the last part of the filling up of the logbook was taking place. So I had asked the reflection portion. They had to do the reflection portion. So I had asked the students to get a rough printout of the logbook, and then I had gone through it, made changes, because this is not something which will be over in 1 week. It will take time. It was like, if you see the book that I have published, at the end is the logbook. This is like entire year I was after my students to complete the logbook. Some part I did for them, some part they did. They gave their reflections. Then the empathy map has to be created. The empathy map, I put my foot down that you will create the empathy map. I will not do it for you, because these are your thoughts. So you will have to be after your students. As you already know, online classes, then you have to be after your students for doing any work. You don't get to catch hold of them so easily.
yeah, I
So
think there's one more raised hand. Halina, ma'am.
yeah.
Yeah, hi, ma'am. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am, actually, I want to know which month can we start the project in, like before summer vacations? How would you go about it?
Ma'am, I started it. This was like last year. Because of the pandemic, we did not have too many holidays. We were just given 15 days. So what I did was, I had started it before. I started with employability skills. I left my unit 1 and unit 2, because by that time the book had also not come. So I started with employability skills, and after, this was in July. Once the school, June 15th or 16th, we had reopened the school because online classes were going on. I started with the logbook. So we decided, because you have to talk to the students what topic they are going to choose, what all they want to showcase in the, because we had chosen chatbot. I thought, let me take up chatbot only, because I could create the chatbot on IBM Watson, so I could help them in that part. So what topic to choose, then, because chatbot is huge, you can give anything and everything in chatbot. So
And
then what
approximately,
aspect
ma'am,
of we took up like the counselor chatbot, the first round of questions which are given to the counselor from students. Some of them are very repetitive. So in order to help the school counselor, we created this chatbot. So obviously there are so many streams, so many subjects that can be taken up. So
but
obviously we
MIT app
narrowed it
also
down.
works as a project, right? As you said, MIT app works as a project.
Yes, MIT app will work for the project, and there are lots of examples available also. So you can go through some of them and then depute, the projects to your students accordingly.
And ma'am, approximately it will take 1 month for the student to complete the project if we, if they
See,
go
ma'am,
about
creating the chatbot didn't take much time. It
the
was like
logbook.
3-4 days they were able to, because we had already done all the planning beforehand. So, but completing the logbook took a lot of time, because
And
you
ma'am,
have
when
to
we're
just
talking about team members, how many team members are allowed in one team?
if you read this thing, the CBSE handbook, it says you can take around 4 students per group.
Per group.
So I made it 2 years. I had 2 students only, so I took both of them. But this year I have 18 students, so I have told them that you start off with 3 students in each group. Then, if of course sometimes they give ideas, they are not able to make those projects, and of course you have to distribute the team members. So I'm starting with 3 members right now.
And ma'am, the practical exam will only contain the capstone project Viva, or does it have any?
As such, it is not, nothing is given in the CBSE handbook. It is only about the capstone project. So what you
Right.
can do is, for the internals, like I have given you these practicals here.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
what
Yes.
I did was, I gave them these two questions only in the term one practical exam. And then, since the logbook was not complete till then, I took up Viva about the project only, but simple Viva, because this was the first stage of the project that was going on.
Thank you, ma'am. And ma'am, last question, any carryovers from class 11?
I do tell them that, the unit one in this one carryovers. If you see, empathy map is there in the project logbook. Confusion matrix, I tell them not to forget, because anything can be asked from confusion matrix even in the Viva. Unit one of class 11th, AI. That is the AI part, not the employability skills. That is introduction to AI. I tell them that is, of course, the introduction part. Since a chatbot, we were talking about chatbot, so the question had been asked: what kind of chatbot you have created? Is it rule based? What is rule based chatbot? What are the different types of chatbots? Is it supervised learning, unsupervised learning? So obviously these are the basic things, so they can't forget that. So
Right.
if you're talking about carryovers on that scale, then yes, of course, that chapter one is the Bible for them. It's a
And
base for
also,
them, rather.
also design thinking and storytelling is grade 11, and they are going to use it in grade 12 also. So those
Yeah,
units also need to be there with them. They cannot
yeah.
leave it and come to grade 12.
Thank
In
you.
fact, I would say it should be in, if you're doing design thinking, revisit it completely from class 11 point of view.
Perfect, ma'am.
Do it
Absolutely.
completely.
Right, right.
Thank you
Yes,
so much.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Meenu ma'am, our session has got 7 more remaining minutes. So what we'll do is,
Yeah,
once
yeah.
it finishes, all the participants can rejoin us.
Using the same link.
Same
Yeah,
link. Yes, yes. So
yeah, yeah. Any questions before I come to the third part? So I'll take up those questions only.
I think third part we can continue with the next session, ma'am. If there are any questions right now, so that there is a continuity, like there are raised hands. Ritu ma'am and Hina ma'am, you have raised your hands.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a query that, like, when we are filling the logbook as like in before summer break, we can just discuss with the projects like MIT app, and we just say them to just explore more, and then we'll come back after the summer break. We can start working on the project, and as soon as we start working on the project, we can fill up the logbook side by side.
Yes, ma'am. It is better if you do that. I also did the same thing. We've filled up the logbook side by side. Minutes of the meeting have to be recorded. So if you do not keep recording the minutes of the meeting later on, then you'll forget what you had discussed.
Yes, yes,
So
yes, yes.
minutes of the meeting, it is better you do it side by side. Also, at the end of the project, you have lots of discussions. So that also I had asked my students to get printouts, rough printouts, write it in school, what we are discussing, and then of course go back home and then they can type it in fair. What I had done was the logbook, I had uploaded it on my drive and then shared the link with my students so that they can work online and I can also see what they are working on. So this
That's great.
continuous, checking also I was doing side by side.
I think that's a very
Yes,
important point. So the project
yes.
logbook, depending upon how many groups we have, you can share the project logbook for each group in the drive and share the link with them, so that when they work on it, you as a teacher can also keep track of what is going in the project logbook, and correct them if there's something that needs to be corrected or something needs to be recorded, or if there's something that you would like to add on to that.
Yeah,
All that
yeah,
can be done.
yeah.
So that's one thing that
So,
all of us as grade 12 teachers need to please make a note of. I can see a lot more hands. Seema ma'am.
ma'am, just one little query. Sorry, disturbing you. Sorry,
No,
interrupting you,
no
ma'am.
problem,
No,
ma'am. No
please go
problem.
ahead. Please go ahead.
Ma'am, actually, like, as we can share this logbook, so can I have this any link or so that this online that can be done? Because in the book, as it will be like in a hard copy format. So can we have in a soft copy format so that we can share it with the students, and then we can work simultaneously like that way?
Yes, yes, definitely. We'll share the
Yeah,
project
yeah.
log with you. It's there. So we'll share it in the group so that you can download and use it. No problem. We'll do that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
The unfilled logbook is available on the net. So what
Yes.
you can do is you can at least go through it and show it to your students that this is all that they have to fill. So at least they have an idea. And then side by side, of course, you keep explaining the different parts of the logbook also. It is a huge document. It's not so easy to fill. It took time. This was my experience. I hope you have a better experience, but it took time. One of my students actually is also a work shirker. So I had to be after him to, complete the work. That's why.
And ma'am, the whole syllabus has to be divided into 2 terms. What about that?
Ma'am, see, as we all know, NEP has now got the sanction from the cabinet also. So I am completely, I'm 99.9% sure that term 1 and term 2 are going to come back.
Oh,
So if it happens, so it's better you keep that in mind. So the first 3 chapters of unit part A, that is employability skills, and the first 2 chapters of part B, that is 5 chapters, will be there in term 1. And storytelling as well as the last 2 chapters of part A, employability skills, will be there in term 2. So keep that in mind.
Okay.
So yes, you do have a long road before term 1.
So ma'am, in the term 1, we can have a small project and we can have a viva on that. But for term 2, that is basically the
So ma'am, I
capstone
would
project.
suggest don't change the project. Let them do only a single project throughout the year. In term 1, have a smaller viva on the project. It may not be that you are complete, the students may not have completed the project by that time. So at least you can have a smaller viva on the part that they have completed. At least ask them, the questions, obviously you can always ask what kind of learning it is, what is the difference between the different types of learnings. You can always ask them. So these are the basic questions. It will just be a small revision for them.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, then. Good, ma'am. Yes, yes.
Don't change the project. It is a lengthy document. So I will really not suggest you to do that. It is exhaustive. Students also have to give time to the document. So don't change the project midway, unless and until, of course, the students are not able to develop it. Then, of course, that's another matter. But please don't change the project. So that is why I said do a proper planning beforehand. If you are able to do that proper planning, because we had gone through lots of softwares before coming down to IBM chatbot. So if your planning stage is done properly, you will not have any problem later on. But yes, filling the logbook will take time. Anything else, ma'am? Yes. Please go ahead.
Yeah, Meenu ma'am, I have one query. As you said that in a project, 4 members should be there, 4 students should be there in one group. So in our school, actually for 12th standard, there are 85, 86 students. So number of groups will be more. So can we increase the number of students in every group, or there should be
Take
4
5 students in one group if you want. I can say that 5, or probably 7, 8. But then the project has to be also worthwhile. See, if you're creating small projects, it is easier for students to do them. If it's a lengthy project, that what all, because each and every member has to be assigned a task. So that thing also you'll have to keep track of.
So every group will get a separate project. They will not do the same project. Everyone's topic will be.
No, ma'am. You can take the same platform. Like this year, of course, 2 groups have decided that they'll create chatbots. But the platform is the same. They'll be creating